American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time of my life. When the words all come down like blues on Tuesdays come down. Throw it all away.
This is American Timelines, and I'm Amy, and that's Joe. And
You're not even going to welcome anybody to it?
nope, they're here. They're queer. Get used to it.
Yeah, you guys are all queer. Thank you for listening.
All right.
No, and I do want to say, we're in like day 60, 50 of this quarantine.
Something. I have lost track.
This pandemic. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Just relax.
Yes.
Stop being mean, and let's all be nice. And let's all
Seriously.
take care of each other. Wear a mask.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere unless you have to. You don't really have to go to Bo Rick's. You don't need the mall to be open. Everybody's panicking. I gotta get to the mall. Nobody went to the mall before.
Nobody's been to the mall since 1989.
Yeah, they're reopening malls, and everybody
Are you
can't wait.
kidding?
And everybody's rushing.
Are
through
they
the
really?
doors. Yeah, because I haven't been able to go to the mall.
Oh, it's a nostalgic thing.
Well, you didn't go to the mall before.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to the mall. You just think you need to because you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like somebody puts a giant cookie in front of you.
Yeah.
You don't really want a cookie, but they're like, hey, don't eat this cookie.
Right.
Now I want to eat that fucking cookie.
It's reverse
I'm
psychology.
gonna eat that goddamn cookie.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about 1968.
Yes, we are in we finished. Well, we got into March.
Yeah.
We're in March of 1968.
Yes.
My name's Joe, and I am an Adonis.
All right.
Yes, I'm a good-looking man, a lot of people tell me. And Amy is beautiful. She is looking good in this quarantine. Amy's getting up every day putting on makeup and dolling herself all up for no reason. But we're going to jump right into March of 1968.
Should I just let myself go and
You should.
lay around like in my own filth?
You know what? You got a ways to go. You could let yourself go for months and you'd still be cute. So
Should we try it?
yeah, I guess. I'm clearly let myself go.
Yeah.
I look like a janitor, a
You kind of look like
1960s janitor.
a miniature version of Ed Kemper a little bit. The co-ed killer.
Is that one of your murderers? Yeah. You probably like that.
No, I
You
do
like
not.
murders.
All right.
Anyway, if you recall, we had to stop towards the end of March. I was going to finish March, but I had a big, long one coming up that I did. I just had to kind of go through and kind of shorten it a little bit or go through it, and I didn't because it's good. But it's a long thing, and I don't think we had time to. So I'm going to jump right into this.
All right.
You'll be right. This will be up your alley.
All right. I'm excited.
Well, don't get too excited. Whoa, look at them nipples. Saturday, March 30th, 1968. So those were my nipples. Two boys playing in a deserted and rat-infested tenement in New York found the body of a 31-year-old drug addict.
Oh.
A year and a half later,
Whoa.
his body was a year and a half later they identified him. They couldn't figure out who he was.
Oh.
He wasn't identified for a year and a half later. And the body was identified then as that of child actor Bobby Driscoll.
Oh, no.
You know who that is?
I've heard the
Remember that name? Academy Award winner and voice of Peter Pan
Oh, no.
in the Disney thing, the Disney Peter Pan.
Oh, my God. That's
that
how
kid.
he died?
That's how he was found.
Oh, Jesus.
31 years old in a rat-infested tenement alone.
Oh, my God.
So after he left the Disney studios, Driscoll's parents withdrew him from the Hollywood Professional School, which served child movie actors, and they sent him to a public school.
Oh, no.
Westwood University High School instead.
Yeah.
And you know how kids are,
Yes.
which I still don't get it. You know, to this day, I think like the same thing like the Star Wars kids.
Yeah, I know.
Like they were bullied and ridiculed. Oh, are you Darth Vader? Blah, blah. I was like, he was Darth fucking Vader. He's cool as fuck. Why wouldn't you love it?
Why wouldn't you love it?
I don't know, but they picked on him.
It's
So
jealousy.
So there, his grades dropped substantially. He was the target of ridicule for his previous film career, and he began to take drugs. Later, he said, the kids didn't accept me. I tried desperately to be one of the gang, but when they rejected me, I fought back, became belligerent and cocky, and I was afraid all the time. At his request, Driscoll's parents returned him the next year to Hollywood Professional School, where in May 1955 he graduated. However, his drug use increased. By 1957, he had only had 2 television parts, and they are not very big deals. He got married, he got divorced, they had a couple kids, and he only had a few movie roles this whole time. Then he was charged with disturbing the peace and assault with a deadly weapon, the latter after hitting with a pistol one of 2 hecklers who made insulting remarks while he was washing a girlfriend's car. The charges were dropped. Then he had a few small roles on short-lived TV shows. And then late 1961, he was sentenced as a drug addict and imprisoned at the Narcotics Rehabilitation Center of the California Institution for Men in Chino, California. When Driscoll left Chino in early 1962, he was unable to find acting work. So in 1965, once his parole expired, he went to New York City. He hoped to revive his career. He just I'll go and do Broadway, but he was unsuccessful. Then he fell into Andy Warhol's group.
Oh God!
His Greenwich Village art community, known as the Factory.
Yeah.
Where he started focusing on his artistic talents. And he was kind of good. A previous artist, Wallace Berman, you ever heard of him?
No.
He had previously encouraged him to do art and stuff, and so and some of his works were considered outstanding. And a few of his surviving collages and cardboard mailers were temporarily exhibited in L.A. at the Santa Monica Museum of Art. But in 1965, early in his tenure at the Factory, Driscoll gave his last known film performance in experimental filmmaker Piero Hellezer's underground movie Dirt. And that's the last anybody's heard of him. In late 1967 or early 68, the penniless Driscoll left the Factory and disappeared into Manhattan's underground.
Oh.
On March 30th, 1968, about 3 weeks after his 31st birthday, 2 young boys playing in a deserted East Village tenement at 371 East 10th Street found his body lying on a cot with 2 empty beer bottles and religious pamphlets scattered on the ground.
Oh, jeez.
The medical examination determined that he had died from heart failure caused by advanced hardening of the arteries due to his longtime drug abuse. There was no identification on the body, and photos taken of it and shown around the neighborhood yielded no positive ID. Nobody knew who he was. So when Driscoll's body went unclaimed, he was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave in New York City's Potter's Field on Hart Island.
Oh, my God.
Yes, that's awful.
That's awful.
This poor little Peter Pan. Late in 1969, about 19 months after his death, Driscoll's mother sought the help of officials at the Disney Studios to contact him for a hoped-for reunion with his father, who was nearing death. And this resulted in a fingerprint match at the New York City Police Department, which located his burial on Hart Island.
Oh.
Although his name appears on his father's gravestone at Eternal Hills Memorial Park in Oceanside, California, it is a cenotaph because his remains are still buried on Hart Island. Driscoll's death was not reported until the re-release of his first Disney film, Song of the South, in 1971, when reporters researched the whereabouts of the film's major cast members and his mother revealed the tragic outcome.
Oh, my gosh. Was a ride.
Yeah, that's sad.
Oh,
Bobby
yeah.
Driscoll.
That is sad. I guess I never heard that. I bet my mom knows that story.
You think she knows that story?
Yeah, I bet she does.
What happened to the Peter Pan guy?
Yeah.
Well, if she's listening, Mary, if you're listening, tweet us at History for Jerks.
She doesn't know how to
Tell us
tweet.
if you know. Yeah. Figure out how to do Twitter.
I don't even know how to tweet. So she really isn't going to know how to tweet.
Yeah, I barely know how to tweet, too.
Yeah.
Well, send us a Snapchat, Mary.
All right.
All right. And then March 30th, Saturday, 1968, a day after buying a .243 caliber rifle and telescopic sight from Aero Marine Supply, a gun shop in Birmingham, Alabama, escaped convict James Earl Ray would exchange the weapon for a more powerful rifle, the .30-06 Remington Game Master.
Yep.
The new rifle would be found 5 days later near the site of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr.
Which I'm going to discuss.
You're going to have a little bit on that,
Yes.
more James Earl Ray stuff. And then Sunday, March 31st, 1968, Lyndon B. Johnson, announced in a nationally televised address that he would not seek re-election as President of the United States. One historian would write later that speech was a political event that would wreck not only the Democratic Party, but the liberal consensus that Democrats had forged in the 60s.
Now, was it an election year?
Yeah.
So that would be like right now.
The president saying,
I'm not going to run.
well, and you know what he said? He said he wasn't running because he's got too much on his plate. He said it's not fair for me to be campaigning when we have this Vietnam War going on. We have this tragedy. So can you imagine Trump saying like, "Well, I got to focus on this pandemic. I can't be holding rallies." You know.
Oh my God!
He would never do that. He would never do that.
Never.
Johnson began speaking from the White House at 9 in the evening and continued for 35 minutes and describing why he had committed to fighting the war. And then he spoke about his own career. The people still listening at 9:40 p.m. were stunned when Johnson concluded his address by saying, "With America's sons in the fields far away, with America's future under challenge right here at home, with our hopes and the world's hopes for peace and the balance every day, with my penis out, I do believe that I should devote an hour a day of my time. I do not believe that I should devote an hour a day of my time to any personal partisan causes or to any duties other than the awesome duties of this office, the presidency of your country. Accordingly, I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president."
Jeez. I can't imagine anybody doing that now.
But instead of, before we make him out to be completely noble, who knows? Like, he might have known. Mm-hmm. Who knows what else was going on? Like,
I know.
He might have known his popularity was tanking or whatever else. So, and then on April 1st, Monday, 1968, April Fool's Day, the FTC issued a cease and desist order to Campbell's Soup Company for using marbles in their soup ads. The marbles were placed in the bottom of the soup to push the solid ingredients to the top, which was considered deceptive.
Oh, in the bowl?
In the bowl.
Like
in their ads, in their pictures.
Oh, okay.
In ads.
Yeah. Huh.
So you can't use marbles anymore.
Oh. That's something I never know.
I didn't either. That's why I put that in there. And then Monday, April 1st, 1968.
Yeah, that's still the same day.
Oh, that same day. That same April 1st. Also, the 249th and final original episode of The Andy Griffith Show aired on CBS 2 days after Andy Griffith's retirement was revealed to the general public.
Oh.
The final episode was a pilot for Mayberry RFD, with the focus on Ken Berry and his fourth appearance as Sam Jones.
I don't know what Mayberry RFD was.
So, yeah, I didn't either, so I kind of looked it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so during the whole final season of the Andy Griffith Show, they started making it about widower farmer Sam Jones, played by Ken Berry, and his young son Mike.
Probably after it jumped the shark.
Played by Buddy Foster. Yeah, so they're trying to make it about these guys and get new leads and do a spinoff. They're introduced and gradually become the show's focus. Sheriff Andy Taylor takes a back seat in the storylines, establishing the new premise. The show's first episode, Andy and Helen's Wedding, had the highest ratings in recorded television history up to that point. Sheriff Taylor and newlywed wife Helen made guest appearances on Mayberry RFD until late 1969 before they relocated with Opie. Mayberry RFD, which stands for Rural Free Delivery, was popular through its entire run, but was canceled after its third season. CBS's Rural Purge from 1971.
Oh.
Did you know they had a rural purge? They got rid of like Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, all the rural shit.
Yeah.
They just got rid of all that, even though it was all popular.
Really?
Like, there was a big uproar. Like, this is what we all watch.
Yeah.
They're like, no.
That was what everybody loved.
No more of this bullshit.
Little House on the Prairie and stuff.
Yeah.
God, I loved Little House on the Prairie.
Well, I think Little House on the Prairie came later. Wasn't that more 80s?
Oh, maybe it was 70s.
I don't know why you like that.
It was awful. I don't know why I liked it either.
I got a headache as soon as that came on. I'd be like,
but I remember, it reminds me of being homesick.
Really?
Or something. It was it was on after dinner or around dinner time or something.
I just remember when that was on. I was like, it was like 4:00 p.m. I think our time. But
yeah.
I just was always, there's nothing I would rather do anything else than watch Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, maybe it was a girl's thing.
Must be. I don't get it. Whatever.
It's about Laura Ingalls. So why would you like it?
I don't even know who that is. Tuesday, April 2nd, 1960. I thought it was about Michael Landon and his 92 pounds of hair.
No, it was
He had
about
a giant
Laura
mane.
Ingalls. It was about...
She was in love with Michael Landon?
She was his daughter, you weirdo.
Oh, well, what did she do? Like, what was her thing? Was she a singer or
They
something?
were pioneers.
Does she
No,
just like
she was a
skip
little
across
girl.
a prairie?
Yeah, they had adventures in the prairie and
Like
stuff.
what kind of adventures?
I don't know, there's bears, stuff like that.
Like she fought bears and stuff.
Yeah. There was some
Is it
other
action packed?
characters in the
Are you
town.
saying it's action packed?
The Olsons and Nellie. Nellie Olson was such a bitch to Laura. Oh, I wanted to beat Nellie up. She had the banana curls. She was the one that was always really nice dressed. And I wanted to beat her up. She was such a bitch.
I want to snap my own neck just listening to this.
I know. Well, you asked.
Well, Tuesday, April 2nd, 1968, Stanley Kubrick's classic film, 2001: A Space Odyssey, premiered at the Uptown Theater in Washington, D.C.
I guess I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah. Stanley Kubrick asked journalists to refer to 2001: A Space Odyssey as 2001 instead of 2001, hoping it would influence the pronunciation of that year.
And it did.
It did.
Nobody says 2001.
Nobody does. Produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick, the screenplay was written by Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke, and it was inspired by Clarke's short story, The Sentinel, and other short stories by Clarke. What?
Have you seen that?
I haven't. Have you?
It is so bizarre.
Is it weird?
Yes. It starts there in the caveman days.
Did it come true? This is what 2001 happened?
No, but it starts with cavemen, and the whole first
Is it good?
half hour or something crazy. I know people are screaming about this because I don't remember very much about it, but it was like the whole first big chunk is just cavemen, and there's no dialogue at all.
Really? That's right up my alley. A lot of people lately have been telling me that every time we mention that, somebody's probably screaming at us, they are screaming at us.
I know.
Like Dan Briggs takes his shoe off and hits his dashboard of his car. Even if he's not listening to it in his car. He'll be in his house and he'll grunt and take his shoes off and throw them inside his car. Yeah, Dan Briggs gets real mad. Like, he breaks things in his house. He's suing us for things he's broken in his house because when we're wrong so much.
Yeah.
Also, Gwen Lorenzen's listening. She's the best. Well, Gwen, I think she got married. But she likes our podcast.
Okay.
Anyway, the screenplay, I said the screenplay was written by the film, which follows a voyage to Jupiter with a sentient computer HAL after the discovery of a featureless alien monolith affecting human evolution, deals with themes of existentialism, human evolution, technology, artificial intelligence, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life.
Yes.
I think I would like it. The film was noted for its scientifically accurate depiction of a space flight, pioneering special effects and ambiguous imagery. Sound and dialogue are used sparingly and often in place of traditional cinematic and narrative techniques. I think I tried to watch it once, maybe in college. Or I might have watched it in college.
I watched it in film class.
Yeah, I probably did too. I was in a film class, but I fell asleep all the time.
You were stoned all the time in film
Well, I partied a lot, so I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like I remember I slept completely through Citizen Kane. I slept through the whole thing.
Oh my God.
And I just recently rewatched it. I was like, shit, that's a good movie that I slept through in college. I wasn't smart enough or mature enough to appreciate anything.
Mm-hmm.
I made a lot of bad choices.
I know.
Especially in
Wait a minute.
the sex arena.
All right.
Just kidding. The film is noted for its scientifically accurate depiction. I already said that. The film received diverse critical responses, ranging from those who saw it as darkly apocalyptic in tone to those who saw it as an optimistic reappraisal of the hopes of humanity. The film garnered a cult following and became the highest-grossing North American film of 1968.
Yep.
It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
Kubrick won for his direction of the visual effects.
It's good. It's just so strange.
It's supposedly one of the greatest and most influential films ever made.
Yeah.
In 1991, it was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
And selected for preservation in the National Film Registry.
Okay.
In 2010, it was named the greatest film of all time by the Moving Arts Film Journal.
Really?
Whoever that is. Yeah, so you're knocking it, and guess
I'm not
what?
knocking it. It's a good movie.
It's the greatest movie of all time. Don't say it's a good movie. It's the greatest movie of all time. Okay? From now on,
It's just a
refer
little
to it-
bizarre in the beginning there.
are you saying the greatest movie of all time is bizarre in the beginning?
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. That brings us to Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
April 4th,
Oh, yeah.
1968.
Yes. Sad day.
When it was a sad, sad day because on Bewitched, after Darren, in a fit of frustration, says that they should tell everyone about Sam being a witch, she makes him dream about that very situation and the reactions of their friends in the U.S. government. And it was so sad.
Mm-hmm. It was.
But it was also sad because
it
one
was
of the worst things ever happened.
Yep, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Yes.
Is there any conspiracy theories about this?
Yeah.
There is?
There is one, yes. So I got most of my information from history.com.
History.com.
A Guardian article from 1968.
Okay.
Wikipedia. And
Who's the author of that Guardian article?
I don't know. It was from 1960. It was like an archive. I
Oh,
couldn't even
sorry.
see it. So, okay.
I apologize.
So Martin Luther King had started receiving death threats about 10 years before his assassination.
Okay.
There were 2 serious attempts on his life. In 1966,
Okay.
a knife was hurled at him as he was speaking at a park in Chicago.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
And then
at some
in
point.
January 1957, a bomb placed on the porch of his home in Montgomery, Alabama, failed to explode.
Oh,
The
man.
fuse burned out just before reaching a dozen sticks of dynamite bundled together.
You know, that just shows you how brave he was because he knew
Yeah.
they were out to get him. He knew he was going to end this way.
Yeah.
But he kept doing it.
He kept doing it.
And he had to. He
Yeah.
was called. He was like the chosen one or something.
Yeah. Just after 6 o'clock p.m. on April 4th, Martin Luther King was fatally shot while he was standing on a balcony outside his second-story room at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep.
He was in Memphis to support a sanitation workers' strike and was on his way to dinner when a bullet struck him in the jaw and severed his spinal cord. He was pronounced dead after arrival at a Memphis hospital. He was 39.
He was only 39.
Yes.
I'm 3 years older than that unbelievable genius.
I know.
And I'm an idiot.
That's right. Recently, Martin Luther King had become increasingly concerned about the problem of economic inequality in America.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He had organized a Poor People's Campaign as a result, which included a march on Washington.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the last couple episodes.
And in March 1968, he traveled to Memphis to support the African American sanitation workers who had been poorly treated. On March,
I thought we looked up and he was supporting everyone. It was just
yes,
poor.
he
It
was,
white
but,
and black.
that's why he went there.
Yeah, but it was African American and white people, I think.
This
I
was an
thought.
African American sanitation workers that were poorly treated in this
I
specific
see.
situation.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm
Okay,
sorry. You're
so
right. Sorry.
on March 28th,
Yeah.
do you have anything for that?
Well, you didn't give me that date, but
Oh, I didn't?
no.
That's all right. Well, it kind of muddles it up. Let me
But-
just go ahead.
But we already talked about March 28th. That was the same day that something happened in the last episode.
Okay. There was a workers' protest march led by King, which ended in violence and the death of an African American teenager.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode.
That's right.
Yep.
King left the city, but said he would return early in April to lead another demonstration.
Oh, okay. So he left after that happened. The boy died. That 14.
Yeah.
He was like 14, I
Yeah.
think. I can't remember his name.
On April 3rd,
April 3rd,
yes.
1968, the same day that Roy Clark was on Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, my God.
He played Cousin Roy from back home, and he comes to visit and open up a distribution point for Mother Myrtle's tonic. Granny isn't very keen on any competition against her own tonic, and Roy Clark played
Yes.
Mother Myrtle also.
That was the strangest show.
It's so weird. Country stuff. Country
Hee-haw
culture. I don't
was
understand.
so weird.
Hee-haw and all that stuff. I just don't get. Like,
I know. I mean, it
Same
was
as-
like a variety show,
I know,
but
but
it was
it's just
in a
like-
corn patch,
something
and
about country, like that country bumpkin themed. I just
it's
don't get it.
it kind of smacks of racism somehow.
Yeah,
even
like
though
maybe
it's
they're
not.
not. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it, but they're. I
It
just
kind of
like
does at the same time.
it does. Like it just makes me uncomfortable.
I know. All right.
Anyway, back to MLK.
That was yes, on April 3rd, back in Memphis, King gave his last sermon, saying,
So some people weren't listening to. Well, maybe it wasn't nationally televised. It was like during that this country show, Beverly
Yes.
Hillbillies was on.
he said, "We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop and he's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get there to the promised land." The next day, Dr. King was shot and killed by a sniper. Riots soon broke out as word of the assassination spread, and the National Guard was actually sent to Memphis and D.C. to quell the riots.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And
I bet,
it was
I bet
like
it
the
was
photos,
nuts.
it was like buildings were rubble.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
how bad the riots were. Like there was buildings just that were rubble, and there was army in the streets and
Well,
everything.
he was the hope and everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was bad.
I can't even imagine living through this.
The next day, wait a minute, I already said that. He was buried on April 9th in Atlanta, Georgia. Tens of thousands of people attended his funeral.
Oh, are you kidding? He was buried the same day? Oh, give that day. You didn't give me that
I'm
day.
sorry, I skimmed
That's okay.
it.
He was buried the same day. Insert stupid show that was on
All right.
here.
On the night King was murdered, they found a Remington 3006, however you fucking say that.
Well, I don't know if I even said it right.
Hunting rifle.
Yeah.
On the sidewalk beside a rooming house 1 block from the Lorraine Motel.
Really? I wonder why they would have left it just sit there.
Police said the assailant dropped the weapon while running down Main Street about a block from the shooting. He apparently jumped into a white car and drove away. Police chased the car, and a civilian who had a police radio started chasing the fleeing car as well and started shooting at it.
What?
But the car got away. So
Who's that civilian? I've never heard of that.
That was in the 1968 article.
Really?
I found that.
But they never said
tidbit.
who it was. Man.
They ran the fingerprints from the rifle, and that, along with eyewitness reports, led authorities to James Earl Ray.
Okay.
Ray was a small-time criminal who escaped from a Missouri prison in April of 1967 while he was serving a sentence for a holdup.
Yeah, so all this time, we all know about the MLK killing. We all know James Earl Ray, but I didn't know he was a prison escapee until we were doing this podcast.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me.
So the manhunt was on. The FBI... Oh,
Okay, say that again.
sorry. The manhunt was on. The FBI traced Ray's whereabouts and found that he had obtained a fake Canadian passport, which was pretty easy at the time to do.
It was?
Yeah. The search ended on June 8th when Scotland Yard arrested Ray.
Wait. It ended on June 8th, the same day that The Prisoner and the Newlywed Game were on? The same day that the funeral of Robert F. Kennedy took place in Washington, D.C., 2 days after his death,
Yep.
after which he was buried in Arlington National Cemetery adjacent to the grave of his brother, JFK. Wait a minute. Robert F. Kennedy died around the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And I talk about that a little bit, too.
okay. Sorry.
The search ended on June 8th when Scotland Yard arrested Ray at an airport in London. He was attempting to fly to Belgium and wanted to eventually get to Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe,
Okay.
which was at the time ruled by an oppressive and internationally hated white minority government.
Oh, it was?
Mm-hmm. Ray was extradited to the U.S., then went to court in March of 1969 and pleaded guilty to King's murder in order to avoid the electric chair. He was sentenced to 99 years in prison. He then attempted to withdraw his guilty plea, saying he was innocent and was a patsy in a larger conspiracy. According to
I
Ray,
wonder if he was.
in 1967, a mysterious man named Raoul had approached him and recruited him in a gun-running enterprise.
Huh.
He said that on April 4th, 1968, he realized he was going to be the fall guy for the King assassination and fled to Canada. The motion was denied, and for the next 29 years, he would make dozens of similar requests for a new trial, and all were denied.
Really? So he says he didn't even do it?
Yeah.
He's just a patsy?
Yeah. In the 90s, Coretta Scott King, King's widow, and children spoke publicly in support of Ray
Really?
and what he claimed,
What?
saying they thought he was innocent and they speculated about a conspiracy between the U.S. government and military.
I believe that.
It is well known that J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, had been obsessed with King for years, thinking he was under communist influence. For the last 6 years of his life, King endured constant wiretapping and harassment by the FBI.
Yeah, but he did.
Shortly before his death, King was also monitored by the U.S. military intelligence. Some speculate this was because he denounced the Vietnam War in 1967.
Oh, okay.
Also because he called for radical economic reforms in 1968.
Yes.
Including guaranteed annual income for all.
Yes, which we should have.
King was not making any friends in the Cold War era U.S. government.
Right. The government doesn't like, once it comes to money, it's always about money.
I know it is.
I knew
Power.
there had to be money and power. Yeah.
Then,
As soon as you're talking about helping the poor, you got a target on your back.
then this guy named Lloyd Jowers shows up on
Lloyd Jowers, y'all.
on TV. He was the owner of James Grill, a restaurant near the Lorraine Motel.
Okay.
In 1993, he appeared on ABC news program Primetime Live and related the details of an alleged conspiracy involving the mafia and the U.S. government to kill the civil rights leader.
Really?
Jowers told reporter Sam Donaldson that he hired someone to kill King as a favor to a friend in the mafia.
Jowers did it?
Yeah, produce merchant Frank Liberto. Jowers said Liberto, who had died prior to the ABC interview, had paid him $100,000 to arrange the assassination. He did not name the person he claimed to have hired, but said it was not Ray.
What?
A jury in Memphis ruled during a civil trial brought by the family that King was killed by a vast conspiracy. A civil trial.
Really?
A civil trial did.
It ruled that?
Yeah. Over the years, the assassination has been re-examined by different bodies who all came to the same conclusion that James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King.
Oh.
The House Select Committee on Assassinations said that a low-level conspiracy may have existed and Ray might have had accomplices, but there was never any evidence that proved that theory. In addition to the huge amount of evidence against him, including his fingerprints on the murder weapon and his admitted presence at the rooming house on April 4th, Ray had a definite motive for assassinating King. He was a huge racist who hated him.
Oh.
He had even told his family and friends that he was going to kill him.
He did? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well.
He died in 1998. But I went to...
How did he died in prison?
Yeah. But I went to this...
Of course,
I found this,
He just died of old age? He wasn't murdered or anything?
No.
Okay.
I found this website that it's called Workers World. It was
Okay.
like a pamphlet from like a... But they...
Pamphlet from like a what?
Like a workers group, like a union, labor union kind of group or something. Sorry. And I have a quote from them that I wanted to end this with.
Okay.
King's death came the same year as the assassination of Robert Kennedy, immediately after he won the crucial California primary, assuring him the Democratic presidential nomination. It came 3 years after the shooting down of Malcolm X, who was building an anti-imperialist movement among African Americans in solidarity with the oppressed all over the world. It came 5 years after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, who, although himself a true blue capitalist, had angered the far right on Cuba, Vietnam, and his domestic policy. These assassinations were planned by professionals who covered their tracks with the help of the bourgeois political establishment and the media. In every case, the involvement of some element of the state has since been uncovered. They were meant to change the course of U.S. history. They didn't succeed. They merely changed its tempo. The civil rights movement that King led and inspired had thousands of leaders and millions of stalwarts. The struggle continued and finally brought down the Jim Crow laws. But the bigger problem, that of a system in which racism is nurtured in order to keep a whole people super exploited by bosses and landlords, goes on. This class of exploiters protects the individuals and, most importantly, the institutions that killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yep. Yeah. That sounds pretty right on to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did it. I think he did do it.
You think he did do
but
it?
I think,
but he was part of this.
Yeah.
Like they put him up to it, probably.
Something, because Hoover hated him.
Yeah.
And was like all those. He was wiretapping his hotel rooms.
But let's just say the FBI did it or whatever. But
or bugging him.
How do they find a patsy like this? Like, where do they find this guy?
Right. I don't know.
Like, where do you look for, especially if he escaped from prison?
Yeah.
Did he escape or did they pluck him right out of prison? Like, did they go to a prison and be like, who's your most racist, guy?
Yeah, that could be.
Let him out, like sneak, keep tabs on him and like make him think he escaped. I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, that would be the good way to do it.
Yeah.
Is to let out, find a real racist prisoner.
Especially, I don't know if it was like that then, but
let him
all
out.
These private prisons now, you have control over all that.
Yeah.
You can get anybody out whenever you want if you're a private prison run by the government, the
really?
rich people.
I don't know.
Well, all the private prison, isn't it? Dick Cheney
know.
and all those guys have their own, all the stock in private prisons.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know you could get out whenever you want. They could get you out.
Oh, no, I mean, they have control of the prison, so they could do whatever they want. They could say, they could, let this guy out, and they would leave a door open, and he would escape.
Oh,
and
like under
surveil him or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, they can control what doors are open and who does what.
That's true.
It seems like it's all corruption. I mean, what prison movie have you ever seen that wasn't corrupt? Like the prison, like Orange is the New Black.
It's all corrupt, them.
What's that one? What's that? Oz?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. So that makes me wonder why I don't have Robert Kennedy's
assassination
on here. Because it was in June. The funeral was in June. We didn't get to June.
Okay,
yet.
that's what I was going to say. That,
yeah, because you were talking about June 8th. Because June 8th was when they caught.
Yes, James Earl Ray.
It was June. Yes, we're not to June yet. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Thanks for covering that. I know it wasn't as exciting and
Not a lot of
happy as a
necrophilia
murder.
to
Yeah,
my liking.
he didn't
Not
have
enough
sex with any dead bodies. But I was more.
that we know of. James
was-
Earl Ray maybe was a secret necrophile.
He might have been.
You
But
heard it
I
here
wanted more
first.
info on just like the prison escaping and all that. Like,
Right.
I don't know how much they know about that, but
Yeah.
that's the part that fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the conspiracy thing too makes you really think. Like, it's scary to think of that. They can just take out anybody. That's why I was so scared for Obama, because I believed in a lot of these, especially
Yeah.
the JFK ones. It was like,
yeah.
they're not going to let that happen. They're not
Yeah.
going to let a black president.
Exists.
I remember the night he
Yeah.
won the inaugural or
I do too.
the acceptance speech
yeah.
or whatever. He was out in the open,
Yeah, in
and giving that
Chicago.
speech outside, and I was like, I was just on the
Yeah, I
edge of my
know.
seat, scared. Like, he's going to be murdered right now on national television. We're all going to see it, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And he just like was dancing with Michelle and like waving at everybody. I'm like, please get through this without
Yeah.
being murdered, and he didn't get murdered. I couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
then this 8 years he didn't. I couldn't believe it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody let that happen. Maybe they needed to give people hope. Or maybe all this is conspiracy theories and it never happened.
It's so
Just
hard
a
to
crazy
know.
person. You never know. You never know. Because maybe we're all just living in a matrix and none of this is real anyway. And then Monday, April 15th, 1968. I don't know if you know that Charles Schultz, who did the Peanuts.
Yeah.
For a long time, he resisted adding a black character to the Peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought he should.
Mm-hmm.
But he thought, well, if I just add it just to add it, it might be seen as condescending if I just
Yeah.
add it just to have inclusiveness. But he added Franklin
Yeah.
on this date. And this, according to Adrian Florido at NPR, Martin Luther King had been dead 11 days. His assassination was fresh on her mind.
Oh, that's a perfect time.
Yeah, when Harriet Glickman, a teacher raising 3 kids in suburban Los Angeles, sat down to her typewriter, and she typed, "Dear Mr. Schultz," she wrote, "since the death of Martin Luther King, I've been asking myself what I can do to help change those conditions in our society which led to the assassination and which contribute to the vast sea of misunderstanding, hate, fear, and violence." Mr. Schultz was Charles Schultz. Glickman thought the creator of the popular Peanuts comic strip could play a small part in promoting tolerance and interracial friendship by including a black character in his strip. She sent the letter, not expecting a reply. Schultz did write back to say he had considered her suggestion, but he worried that if he created such a character, black parents might think he was condescending to their families. With Schultz's permission, Glickman asked 2 of her black friends to send him some ideas on how to make a black character relatable. A few weeks later, the cartoonist responded, "You'll be pleased to know that I've taken the first step in doing something about presenting a Negro child in the comic strip during the week of July 29th, Schultz said. I have drawn an episode which I think will please you. Just like that, Franklin was born." His debut in 1968 drew praise from across the country, but also protests from Southern segregationists.
God, those fucking people.
I know.
Jesus.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just it's a comic
It's a
strip.
fucking comic. It's the fucking Charlie Brown, goddammit. Schultz kept Franklin, but never developed him into a nuanced character as the other Peanuts. Still, Glickman said his presence was remarkable in an era when the funny pages were overwhelmingly, if not completely, white.
Yeah.
After adding Franklin, his syndicate tried to force Schultz to remove him, and he said, "Either you print it just the way I draw it, or I quit." How's that?
Oh, nice.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
So Charles Schultz.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny thing,
Yeah.
but it's something.
I love Peanuts.
Now you love Peanuts more, right?
I do.
Did you already love it, or
I
now do you
did.
love it more?
I do love it. I did love it already.
Like, really love it?
I love their music.
Well, it's all you ever do, like, all day long. You're drawing Peanuts characters.
No,
you have
you're getting a little
Charlie
silly.
Brown shirt. I used to have a Charlie Brown shirt with a yellow shirt with a thing. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back after these messages.
Hello, fellow podcast enthusiasts.
My name is Rachel.
And I'm Neil, and together we are a husband and wife duo and the hosts of Mad or Bad, a true crime podcast.
Mad or Bad is a true crime podcast with a psychological twist, which takes a look at true crime cases from the UK and around the world. We cover murders, serial killers, disappearances, abuse scandals, and much more.
We have a special interest in murders local to where we live in England. However, we also love covering other lesser known cases from around the world. We also love discussing psychological phenomena and how it relates to true crime.
So join us every Monday for a new true crime story where we discuss crime, murder, psychology, and much more.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts.
All right, and we're back to American Timelines by History for Jerks. Amy just wolfed down a bag of Cheetos, and we are ready to continue on.
Yes, let's do it.
For a little bit. Let's try to get through May.
It depends on how much blabbing you do.
Whoa. That was mean. Mm-hmm. May. Okay. I just want to tell you. Just be patient. There's a couple things about baseball. But I think of Brian McCartney before you get mad. Okay, he likes these things. The first one is Thursday, May 2nd. John Boozer of the Philadelphia Phillies became the first MLB player since 1944 and only the second in MLB history to be ejected from a game for violation of the spitball rule.
And what's a spitball rule?
You can't spit on the ball before you throw it.
Does that add to the...
I guess it makes it harder to hit.
Oh.
He was coming in briefly as a relief pitcher in a 3-0 loss to the New York Mets. Only three other players, Nels Potter in 1944, Phil Regan later in 1968, and Gaylord Perry in 1982. That's
a guy named Gaylord Perry?
Gaylord Perry. Yep.
Oh
they were all ejected from MLB games under the spitball rule. There was a spitball rule. And then Saturday, May 4th, the 94th Kentucky Derby was won by...
Auntie's Trousers.
Close. Dancer's Image.
I was close.
But yeah, you were close. But this is actually significant because despite the thoroughbred's history of pain in his ankles, jockey Bobby Ussery rode to victory Dancer's Image and finished 1.5 lengths ahead of Forward Pass. 3 days after, Dancer's Image would be disqualified after failing a drug test, and Forward Pass would be declared the winner.
You
see. There were traces of the painkiller phenylbutazone in Dancer's Image, his urine.
Oh.
So I don't know why they can't take painkillers. There's an old damn horse.
I know, they get injured.
Yeah, leave it alone.
Yeah, sometimes horse racing. I don't know. My mom loves it.
I don't get it. On May 5th, 1968. Oh, what was the first name of that guy? I told you to look up. Arthur Decker? No.
Yes, I think it was Arthur Decker.
You find that text real quick?
Yes. Albert Decker.
May 5th, 1968. Actor Albert Decker was found dead in his Hollywood home by his fiancée, fashion model and future Love Boat creator Geraldine Saunders.
Yes.
That was his wife. So now this guy, he's been in a ton of movies. The only one I knew was one I recently watched called The Gentleman's Agreement, and he was like the boss. Like Gentleman's Agreement is like they hired Gregory Peck to write an article about anti-Semitism, and he decides to pose as a Jewish guy and to live a life as a Jewish person, but his boss is this guy. So I just watched a movie with him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard of him. But this is significant because when he was discovered dead, he was naked, kneeling in the bathtub with a noose tightly wrapped around his neck and looped around the shower curtain rod. He was blindfolded. His wrists were handcuffed. There was a ball gag in his mouth, and 2 hypodermic needles were inserted in one arm.
Yes.
His body was covered in explicit words and drawings in red lipstick. Isn't that crazy and fucked up? Like, You can't kill yourself doing all that, right?
I mean, to me, it's pretty obvious it was sex play gone wrong.
But somebody had to be there with them to put.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they were doing the
And they just
sadomasochism thing, and they probably accidentally killed him, and were like, "Oh shit, get out of here!"
You don't think somebody just killed him and then put him in that weird thing?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There was money and camera equipment missing, but there was no sign of forced entry.
Yeah.
The coroner found no evidence of foul play and ruled his death accidental, the result of autoerotic asphyxiation. I can never say that. Decker was.
See, they were doing that, and they accidentally killed him. I bet.
You think he was like doing it with somebody? Mm-hmm. Decker has. Do you think it was his wife? No.
No.
Decker has a star in the motion picture category on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6620 Hollywood Boulevard.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he wasn't. That maybe the death didn't eclipse the career.
Yeah, I mean, that's some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, it is. Some people are into some crazy shit.
You think he was into it? You're not worried about James
I'm not.
Earl? You don't think James Earl Ray did it?
Maybe.
Monday, May 6, 1968, the sudden flooding of a coal mine at Hominy Falls, West Virginia. Hominy, trapped 25 miners underground.
Oh, yuck.
15 were rescued after being trapped for 5 days, but the other 10, who had not been heard from since the accident, were believed to have died.
Ugh. Henry and I were just talking about how, like, the idea of tunnels underground is so creepy. And caves underground and things. Yeah. Like, I have nightmares that I'm in an underground cave of some sort and I can't get out.
Adding to your nightmare, to the surprise of rescue workers, 6 of the 10 men had survived nearly for a week and a half in the flooded mine after they had built a barricade and rationed what food they had left.
Oh, a week and a half in there?
Yeah.
And it was flooded?
Yep.
I wonder how deep the water was.
I don't know, but imagine having a ration food.
Ugh.
I want my Twinkies. I want the whole Twinkie.
Yeah.
God. And then Wednesday, May 8th.
And somebody always goes crazy and in the middle of the night goes and sneaks a bunch of food. That happens every time.
It happens every time, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Wednesday, May 8th, 1968. One other baseball thing. Jim Catfish Hunter of the Oakland A's hurled the 9th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. This is what Brian McCartney would love. He gets like, if there's a perfect game, Brian McCartney is going to ejaculate everywhere.
All right. I don't know
he
if that's
loves
true.
it. And this was the first in an American League game in more than 45 years. Like, picture Brian McCartney. Well, it happened in 45 years. You got to talk about that. Like, if I was going to skip this, he would be so mad.
He'd
You
be
got
real mad.
45 years.
Yeah.
Playing at home in a 4-0 win over the Minnesota Twins, Hunter threw 11 strikeouts, including the last 2 players he faced, Bruce Look and Rich Reese. The feat was witnessed by only 6,298 paying customers. The feat not allowing an opposing player to reach first base had last been accomplished in the majors by Sandy Koufax on September 9th, 1965. For the next 13 years, including the entire 70s, no more perfect games would be hurled in the American Major Leagues until May 15th, 1981 by...
I don't know.
Len Barker, duh.
So they didn't score at all the whole game?
Like, not only score, like nobody even got to first base. No walks. No hits, nothing. A perfect game. Brian McCartney would be so excited. He loves shit like that.
Okay.
Me personally, I think that's boring as fuck because there's no hits. Like there's nothing. Like they just.
But
it's like the pitcher.
It's an
catcher.
amazing feat.
It's an amazing feat. But if I'm at the game, Jesus Christ, why don't I just watch the pitcher and the catcher play catch?
Yeah. Seriously.
Go play catch and I'll smoke a bowl.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Give me some cocaine or something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't do cocaine. Also, that same day, Lawrence M. Klauber died. He was an 84-year-old American herpetologist and the world's foremost authority on rattlesnakes.
Why are you talking about that?
Well, I'm sure you want to know that guy's no longer in the world. So for our future episodes. And then Friday, May 10th, 1968, representatives of the U.S. and the North Vietnam met at Paris for the first time to discuss peace talks.
Okay.
And agreed that discussions would take place at the International Conference Center of the French Foreign Ministry, located in the former Hotel Majestic. And then Sunday, May 12th, Reginald Dwight, who played the piano for the English R&B group Bluesology. You know who this is?
No.
Well, Reginald Dwight chose the stage name that would make him famous while on an airplane flight back to London after his final concert with Bluesology in Edinburgh. After a discussion with his bandmates, Dwight chose to use the first names of saxophonist Elton Dean and lead vocalist John Baldry to coin the pseudonym Elton John.
Yeah.
Tim Anderson would have known that.
You think?
Yep. And then May 13th, the Paris peace talks between the U.S. and North Vietnam opened at the Conference Center on Avenue Kleber and would result in a preliminary agreement to end the war on October 27th. They're in May, and they said, "Oh, let's end it in October."
Oh.
Meanwhile, they're all killing each other.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I don't get war.
Saturday, May 18th, 1968. This is from express.co.uk by George Simpson. John Lennon, after taking a large amount of LSD, called an emergency meeting of the Beatles to inform them that he was, in fact, Jesus Christ reincarnated.
He did.
He did. According to a book by their childhood friend, the memory appears in the book Magical Mystery Tour, My Life with the Beatles by Tony Bramwell and Rosemary Kingsland. Mm-hmm. So Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr all headed over to the boardroom of Apple Records. Mm-hmm. It was there that Lennon announced, "I've got something very important to tell you. I am Jesus Christ. I have come back again. This is my thing." In response, Ringo sighed and said, "Right, meeting adjourned. Let's go have some lunch." So the Beatles drummer took Lennon to lunch, only for a gushing fan to rush up to their table to meet him. Mm-hmm. Still high as a kite, he corrected the fan, saying, "Actually, I'm Jesus Christ." To which the confused fan replied, "I still liked your last record." And then May 18th, 1968, Archie Bell and the Drells take over the number one spot with a song called Tighten Up.
I might know it if I heard it.
Tighten up.
That's not right.
Tighten up, tighten up, tighten up.
You're just making shit
Tighten
up.
up. I don't know how it goes either, but that's the same day that Mattel's Hot Wheels toy cars were introduced.
Oh.
1968.
Barbie's around. Did we talk about Barbie?
Yeah, plenty of times. Wednesday, May 22nd, 1968. All 23 people on board Los Angeles Airways Flight 841. Mm-hmm. A Sikorsky S-61L were killed in the worst helicopter accident in American history.
Oh, why?
As the aircraft crashed onto Minnesota Avenue in Paramount, California.
Ooh.
The 20 passengers were being shuttled by the crew of 3 from Disneyland to LA International Airport and were halfway through the 32-mile trip when the helicopter exploded and broke apart at 5:47 in the afternoon.
Oh, no.
The dead included the mayor of Red Bluff, California, and 8 members of a family from Canton and Steubenville, Ohio.
Boy,
who were on vacation.
If you die in that, it really was your time to go.
Yeah, because only a few of you in that helicopter.
I mean, what a freak accident to be like on the street below, and all of a sudden a helicopter falls on you. That was really your day to go.
Yep. A 20-month investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board would conclude that one of the 5 blades on the main rotor came loose from the damper that held to the spinning rotor head, then became entangled in the rotor, throwing the other blades entirely out of balance. The aircraft completely uncontrollably crashed in a near vertical descent.
Oh.
The NTSB concluded and added it was a 1 in a million accident with no precedent.
Oh, man.
So you're right. It is your time to go.
Yeah.
And then Monday, May 27th in Chicago, baseball's National League voted to expand to 12 teams and awarded franchises to San Diego and the first Major League Baseball team in Canada. The...
give me what part of Canada?
Montreal.
The Montreal Expos.
Yes, I have a hat. With both to begin play in 1969 with prospective owners to pay $10 million apiece. Bids from Buffalo, Dallas, and Milwaukee were rejected.
Oh, poor guys.
That same day, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the U.S. versus O'Brien that the burning of a draft card in protest does not constitute constitutionally protected free speech.
Oh, really?
Yep, and that concludes May 1968.
Well, there we go.
See? It really wasn't that bad. Just a few little blurbs. We even talked about 3 baseball things.
Yeah.
And you didn't even hit me with you didn't even poke me with a fork.
That's true. They were semi-interesting. So
my genitals are completely intact.
That's right.
Can't
All
believe
right.
it.
Well, it's time to get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Yeah, it is time to get out of here, Chuck Berry. Thanks for listening to episode 110 of American Time Now.
Yes, thank you for
Please
listening.
purchase Matt Truman music.
Yes.
A lot of my friends said, "Who's that guy that does the music?" Yeah, go to Bandcamp. You can buy it. You can listen to a lot of previews. Just buy it. It's not expensive, and it's good shit.
Yeah.
You want to listen to it in your car with your windows down, shirt off.
All right.
Matt Truman Ego Trip kicks ass.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Oh Lord. We hit that stop button.
I said we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. When you were all alone, no watchtower, kiss in the sky. Well, I was barely a glimmer in my young daddy's eye. I said that we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. One more time, I said we're so tired of hearing about the 60s. Well, make me shut my mouth now.
Ellen asked you Alice versus Chelsea in town. Now you're stealing coffee money for the president's ball. Well,
We're so tired of hearing about the 60s.
American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
Talk about pork.